I usually cry during all of my speeches, and now that I'm pregnant and super hormonal, there's just no hope. So I apologize if you can't understand me through the sobbing. Thank you to Eileen for that really lovely speech. I mean, I'm basically just a selfish actor who found a really great part, honestly. I think I'm an actor because I've always loved the idea of being part of a story. When I was a young girl, when my mother would tell me a bedtime story, I would just beg her to make me a character in the story, put me in the story, I would say. And as a result, when she wasn't reading Greek myths to me, she would make up stories with me in them. Jenny walked through the forest, Jenny fought dragons, and in another more practical story, Jenny always counted her change when she went to go buy milk from the store. There were a variety of fictions, and I think from an early age, we all see our life as a narrative, and the narratives to which we are exposed oftentimes shape the narratives we create for ourselves. Through our imagination and through the exposure to the imaginations of others, we are constantly in the process of creating ourselves. And as I got a little older and was more aware of television and magazines, I searched for images of girls that looked like me. As a biracial girl growing up in Chicago, there wasn't a lot there, positive or otherwise. I mean, I had Spock. That was really it. My theme song was Cher's Half-Breed. And as for being a female, the only woman or women who had any kind of power were either witches or scantily clad blonde genies running around furniture. And giving the choice, I think I'd rather be a witch. Somehow, my story wasn't there. I was too young to start reading Faulkner. I hadn't seen Imitations of Life, and so I wasn't aware that I was supposed to be this insane, oversexed, tragic mulatto gal. I mean, certainly my otherness sometimes was so palpable, it was a wonder that anyone could see me. I was that invisible. And certainly when society fails to tell your story, there is an unspoken message that the story is not worth telling. And yet, somehow, I think it was either the Greek myths with all the powerful shapeshifters and half-human, half-beast deities, or the Jenny Makes Perfect Change story, I don't know. I thought perhaps, just maybe, I was different for a reason. Like I wasn't some horrible mistake. It wasn't some horrible mistake to go undocumented in the world. As an actor, I have been very aware of the stories of which I am a part. As an actor, I've been very aware of the times when I'm able to play the other, and I'm happy to have those opportunities, the majority of which have come from Showtime. When I met with the producers of The L Word, led by Eileen Chaikin, to talk about the show, my character, Bet, was initially not biracial. I suggested that the character be made biracial so I could serve all those people who were like me and had never seen themselves represented, except for maybe in a Benetton ad. Eileen embraced the idea because she is that kind of spirit. She knew that I, too, wanted to feel a sense of belonging, not just belonging in a corporate sense, but belonging in a true sense, both as an individual and as a part of her story. I am honored to be part of Eileen's stories week after week, and grateful that we have people like Rose Trochet and A.M. Holmes to help tell those stories. The notion that I am part of a narrative where I can offer up some sort of mirror, however imperfect, to someone who may have never before seen themselves represented, is very exciting. To know that you exist, and then to know that you exist in a larger, beautiful context, and then finally to know that we all exist as one larger extended group is very fulfilling. To elucidate those connections that lead us all into the state of belonging to the family of humanity is one of the things that the L Word strives to accomplish. To love, to love, to love, even when you think the heart is exhausted by anger and fear and hurt and disappointment. To love, even when you want to strangle the person who thought overhead lighting in a maternity store dressing room was a good idea. To love, that is the larger task which connects us all. That is the narrative to which I hope we all can strive. We live in a time when it has been made very clear to us that this human life is impermanent. At any moment, our lives may be interrupted by a tsunami, a terrorist attack, a mudslide, or an earthquake. There are no guarantees that we will have tomorrow, but we do have right now. And so it is clear that this human life is extremely precious. And within this life, I think our most precious gift, the one that we can take with us, is our capacity to love and be loved. And when two people love one another, that in and of itself is a miracle and a blessing. So for one person to begrudge another person their love for someone, and for whatever reason, to me, seems to be quite ludicrous, particularly in the larger scope of things. I imagine when that person who has spent so much of their time condemning others reaches the gate of heaven, St. Peter, or Lassie, or Harvey Milk, or Anne Bancroft, whoever is guarding the gate, will say to them, "You goof! You missed the most important thing, love. Now go back and try again." Love is large. Love defies limits. People talk about the sanctity of love. Love is by definition sacred. Not some love between some people, but all love between all people. How can anyone say that one person's love is more sacred than another person's? If it is indeed love, it is sanctified. If it is indeed love, the right to marriage is not questionable. In my mind, nothing pleases God more than love. Hormones. I do not think it pleases God to codify bigotry. I do not think it pleases God that fear guides the hand of the law in the name of a cultural war. Desmond Tutu once said that the great problem of our age is one of belonging. Who is the insider and who remains on the outside? Who will exact the spoils and who will suffer these groupings are realities, but they are also fictions put forth by people who benefit from the politics of division. The audience who watches the L Word are a diverse group. And what does that mean? Despite all the shameful efforts to divide this country over issues like who gets to choose, who gets to call themselves a patriot, and who does not, and who gets to marry, and who does not, people, not just gay people, not just horny hetero guys, but a lot of people are interested in stories about a group of lesbians in West Hollywood. And in those stories about a group of lesbians in West Hollywood, people recognize their own humanity, and therein lies the power and potential beauty of television. It has been said that history is written by the victors. I take that to mean we can make ourselves victorious by writing and then rewriting our own stories. And in a country and culture so dominated by media, by the manipulation of words and stories, telling the tales of people whose stories historically have not been told is a radical act, and I believe an act that can change the world and help rewrite history. Imagine if all of our stories were told. Like the chart on the L Word, one day all the narratives would intertwine and we would discover the power of our collective imaginations, and we would see that to be victorious is not to have won simply for your own sake, but for the sake of others. Thank you so much to GLAAD for this award and for their fine work and for their encouragement and support. Good night.